Alright, the time has come. It is finally here. This is my brand new Lenovo ThinkPad X130e netbook computer. Now, before we delve right into this and have a look at it, I do have a story to tell. It was about this time last year that I decided that it would be good for me to have a netbook computer for when I start university in September of this year. And really, I thought almost immediately, well, I'll get an Acer Aspire 1, because really that was the only netbook I was familiar with. At the local Walmart, they have an Acer Aspire 1 set up that I can use, and it looked like a pretty cool computer. A friend of mine had an Acer Aspire 1, and I did the research, and the specific model I wanted, it cost about $270. It had a dual-core Atom processor, a 6-cell battery, good for 8 hours of battery life, and it was kind of a burgundy red in color. And I thought, alright, cool, I'll get that. And I decided to put it off. I figured, oh, I'll wait another year until, well, this time actually, and then I'll buy it. Well, then I started reading reviews, and I started discovering just how unreliable cheap netbooks were. There were tons and tons of reviews, not just for the Acer Aspire 1, but for other netbooks I looked at too, and they all suffered the same problems. Their screens smash on them. They open them up to find a broken screen, and it's not covered under warranty because the manufacturers claim that the users abuse them. And this only happened after, say, 2 or 3 years. For many people, it happened before the warranty period was even up, before a year. And I'm thinking, well, I don't want to spend, almost $300 on a computer that's gonna break in only 2 or 3 years. That is not money well spent, and it's especially inconvenient if it's a computer that I need for my university schoolwork. So I did some more research and started reading more reviews. I did some research on the Asus EEE PC notebooks, netbooks that is, and in the end I just gave up on them because there are just so many models and no information on any of them. I could not find any information on the Asus EEE netbooks. So I said screw that. So I looked at some other manufacturers. I looked at Dell's netbooks, HP's netbooks, and I had a budget of $300, and I just couldn't find anything that suited my needs. Really, my only need was that it had to have a 6-cell battery for long battery life. And I had a couple other minor things, but I just couldn't find a netbook that suited me. And then around September, I decided, well, I'll go to Lenovo's website, and I know the ThinkPads are good laptops. Maybe there's a ThinkPad netbook. I didn't think there was, but I figured I'd check anyway. And lo and behold, there was, the Lenovo ThinkPad X120e. And I did some research on it. It really confused me because day to day, the price on Lenovo's website changed. The first time I ever found it, it had a price of $400, and I'm like, wow, that's a really great price for a ThinkPad netbook. But then I'd look the next day, and it'd be $700, and then I'd look the next day, and it'd be $500. So Lenovo changed the price every day. I do not know why. So I thought this could perhaps be the one, but I read some reviews, and it suffered, I guess, from some heating problems and from problems with the keyboard or something. I don't remember clearly now, but I remember there was something that just turned me off from it. I didn't think it'd be a good choice, and I thought, between that and the fact that I'll probably end up paying at least $500 for it, I don't think it's a very good spend. I figured it was best to remain true to my budget. And then around November, I found what I thought was definitely the perfect netbook. It was one by Toshiba, the Toshiba NB505. I knew Toshiba makes good computers, and I did some research, and well, this seems like a pretty good netbook. It's got a single core Atom processor. It's good for 8 or 9 hours of battery life. Reviews look good, it's a Toshiba. It should be a good quality computer. And hey, it's only $270. So I did gear up to get ready to buy it, but again, I decided to hold off until closer to the summertime. I figured the later I bought it, then the newer it would be for when I actually needed it in university. Then I discovered something. There are higher end models of Toshiba's netbooks that are not sold in the US. However, they are sold in Canada and the UK. There's the NB525, which upgrades to a dual-core Atom processor and a Harman Kardon stereo speaker system. And then there's the NB555, which has an AMD C60 processor with Radeon graphics built in, and also the Harman Kardon stereo system. And I'm like, wow. And it was around that time I had a revelation. I thought, if this is the first brand new computer I'll ever buy, and perhaps the only one I'll ever buy for many years, screw the budget, I want to get a good one. So I decided I wanted a Toshiba NB555, which retailed for about $350. But the problem was, I couldn't find anywhere that would sell them. I found 3 websites altogether, 3 Canadian websites that sold them. And a few days later I looked, and one of the websites discontinued them. Then I looked at another website, and they said they were also out of stock. So that left only one website, and the thing was, it didn't come in the color I wanted it in. I figured if I was going to put $350 on a brand new computer, I want to get the one that I want. And I wanted a brown colored version of the netbook. Toshiba makes them in brown, blue, green, orange, and 1 or 2 other colors. And I wanted the brown one, but everywhere I looked they only had them in blue, the 2 or 3 places I found. So I emailed them and asked if they could order them in the brown, and they didn't get back to me till about 2 weeks later. And it was this 2 weeks later that I had another revelation that turned me off from the Toshiba netbook. And that revelation happened around February. I thought, well, let me take a look at that ThinkPad netbook one more time. And I went to Lenovo's website, and to my surprise, they had discontinued the ThinkPad X120e, but they had reintroduced it as a new model, the X130e. So I did my research on it, and it was right then and there. I said, that's it. At the time, it was priced at $500. I said, that's it. That's what I'm getting. I waited about 2 weeks later, and I did it. So I purchased the Lenovo ThinkPad X130e from Lenovo Canada, and it arrived about 2 weeks ago. And I opened up the box, and the screen was smashed, and the case was broken in 2 places. And that's when I made that phone call to Lenovo that I uploaded on YouTube that you guys got to listen to. I've kept this whole netbook thing secret for a year now, but that was your guys' introduction to the fact that I was getting a brand new computer. I didn't tell you guys what kind of ThinkPad I was getting. I hope that got you guys a bit excited and geared up for this. So yeah, my Lenovo ThinkPad X130e came broken. I called them up, they got it sorted out, luckily, because I know Lenovo doesn't have great customer support, but they got it sorted out. A new one came on the way, and that's this one, and this one came today. So, this is a Lenovo ThinkPad X130e. It's a brand new model from Lenovo. They introduced it in December for school districts and government people to buy, and they introduced it for the consumer market just in February, so it's only been out just a couple of months now. So, as of making this video, this laptop is about 8 hours old. I'll give you the specs. This computer has an AMD Fusion E450 processor running at 1.65 gigahertz. It has 4 gigabytes of RAM and a 320 gigabyte hard drive. So, we'll go over a tour here. Got the metallic Lenovo logo there, and the classic ThinkPad logo, also metallic. That's a little power light that dots the eye. On the front, we have absolutely nothing. On the left side, you have your VGA, your air vent, HDMI, USB 2.0, Ethernet, and a combined headphone and microphone jack. Along the right side, we have an SD card slot, another USB 2.0. This one's yellow because it's powered. That means that even though the laptop's turned off, as it is right now, I can plug in my iPod and it will start charging. Another USB 2.0, and the power plug with a little light there that lights up when it's plugged in, and Kensington lock. Nothing on the back. There's your battery there. I'm covering my license key. And you have all this crap here. And then there we have stereo speakers. And now we'll open it up, which you won't believe this is actually a two-handed job, but I'll do my best. There we go. This thing was not cheap. Altogether, I paid $620 for this. The base processor is an AMD Fusion E300, which is 1.3 gigahertz. I paid $40 extra to have the E450, which is 1.65 gigahertz. Why not? First brand new computer I've ever bought, probably the only one for a long time. Hopefully for many years. Well, I mean, hopefully this thing lasts many years. Energy Star, we have a webcam. It's an 11.6 inch display, so a bit bigger than your garden variety netbooks. Lenovo painted on there. X130e. There's your keyboard. It's a full-size keyboard. Most of your garden variety netbooks, they have a 3/4 size keyboard. This is full size. And that's the benefit of having a slightly bigger laptop, 11.6 inches as opposed to 10.2. We have our track point, our buttons here, trackpad. The trackpad itself physically clicks. It has left and right buttons built right into it. It physically clicks. Windows 7, Lenovo Bloatware 2.0, Education Series. Now, another metallic ThinkPad logo with a red LED for when it's turned on. The red LEDs also, they pulse kind of like the IMAX power light when it's in standby. Now, one could say, I guess technically, that this is an upgraded version of the X120e, but really, Lenovo took the X120e and completely redesigned it from the ground up. This bears very little resemblance to the X120e. Now what they did was, the X120e was a netbook in every sense of the word. It was made to be small and light, and have good battery life. With the X130e, it's a bit thicker than the X120e, and that's because they literally went over the top and ruggedized this like crazy. As a matter of fact, I believe they say this is the most rugged ThinkPad ever made. And the reason that is this ThinkPad was specifically designed to be used by elementary school children. They specifically designed this for schools for deployment to students, and they made it to withstand handling by children who will bump things around and just go nuts with it. I should mention this is rubber, very hard rubber around the outside of the case here. So they completely redesigned the X120e to make the X130e. It exceeds military standards for durability, and really it's just a really overbuilt netbook, so they say, which is why I decided on one of these, because they apparently made it so darn tough that my theory is that if you treat one of these nicely, it should last you forever. They've made the hinges able to withstand 30,000 open-close cycles. They thicken the plastic on just about everything compared to the X120e. That's why it's quite a bit thicker than the X120e. And yeah, to sum it all up, they built it to be handled by children. And that, to me, is totally awesome. Because this is still, even though it's made for children, this is still a full-fledged computer, or a full-fledged netbook at the very least. And a very capable one too, as you will see later. It came pre-installed with Windows 7 64 Home Premium. It has 2 RAM slots in it, so it can be upgraded all the way up to 8 gigabytes of RAM. And of course the AMD Fusion E450 CPU. Actually it's an APU, which means Accelerated Processing Unit, meaning that it has the graphics built into the CPU, which many of both Intel's and AMD's processors are now. The graphics built into the processor are ATI Radeon HD 6320. It's been rated for 8.5 hours of battery life, and I guess that's all there is to say for as long as this thing's turned off. So now we'll turn it on and I'll give you a demonstration. Alright, without further ado, let's turn this on. Now, I think this thing kind of is sitting on a rather fuzzy line between netbooks and ultra-portable laptops, because I think that, you know, depending on who you ask, they could call this a netbook or they could call this an ultra-portable laptop. Now, an ultra-portable laptop is a laptop that's designed to be thinner and lighter than a full-size laptop, so it lacks an optical drive. and it's meant to have a lot longer battery life, but it retains a full-size display. I think to the general public, a laptop is an ultra portable if it has a screen size bigger than 12 inches, and it's a netbook if it has a screen size smaller than 12 inches. Now this is an 11.6 inch screen, and it lacks an optical drive, and it has absolutely amazing battery life. So in that sense, you could call it a netbook. But on the other hand, if you call it a netbook, it's the most powerful netbook money can buy. Actually, this is literally the second most powerful netbook money can buy. The most powerful being the Intel version of this netbook, which has a Core i3. This is the AMD version, of course. The Intel version absolutely rapes the AMD version in terms of processing power, but it also costs $100 more, so that's why I got the AMD version. Plus, the Intel version has Intel HD graphics, whereas the AMD has Radeon graphics. The Intel HD graphics are as good, if not better, than the Radeon graphics, but the Radeon graphics have more compatibility with more games, and they support a higher DirectX and shader model version. So the benefits all outweigh the losses to me for the AMD version. Going back to my original discussion here, this does have an 11.6 inch screen, lacks an optical drive, and has incredibly long battery life. So in that sense, you'd call it a netbook. But if you can't tell, the screen is extremely high resolution. It is a full resolution screen, 1366 by 768 pixels. That, and this thing weighs, I believe, 4 pounds, whereas most netbooks weigh less than 3 pounds. In fact, I think the X120e weighed around 3 pounds. Well, this weighs 4. So in the sense that it has full screen resolution, it's very powerful CPU for a netbook, very powerful graphics for a netbook, and it weighs 4 pounds. It could be classed as an ultra portable. So I guess just out of curiosity, I mean, I call this a netbook, but out of curiosity, what would you guys call this thing, a netbook or an ultra portable? Leave a comment. So of course, through all my rambling, we are logged on. This is not the original background. I have found a bunch of backgrounds to put on it. I'm kind of learning the track point here. In fact, not only the track point, but the trackpad's kind of tricky, because between the fact that the trackpad's small, I've never used a track point, and the screen is just so small because it's a small screen with really high resolution, it's kind of gets some used to. But I think I'm getting used to it though. So the original background is that. It says Think, and there's 3 versions of it. This is the black version. There's also a white version and a light sky blue version. Fix the white balance there. Here we go. It's a matte display. And it's funny, really the only complaint I read about this laptop in reviews was that the screen wasn't very bright. But this screen is brighter than any laptop I've ever seen. It's not even up the whole way right now. Turn it up the whole way, and it's just incredibly bright compared to my other laptops. In fact, I've never used it up the whole way. I keep it about right there. So definitely not a problem. If you read a review on one of these saying that the screen isn't bright enough, just forget about it, because it is. Or maybe I'm missing something and screens are as bright as the sun now. I don't know. Lenovo installs a crap load of crapware, which I've already uninstalled quite a bit of. Norton Antivirus uninstalled because it's only a trial. Lenovo's Power Manager I've uninstalled because it's useless. It really does no more than what the Windows Power Manager can do. There's enough crapware on this thing that out of the box it was using more RAM than that. It was using like 1.3 gigabytes of RAM, whereas my Dell only uses something around 700 megabytes. So it's definitely worth uninstalling what you don't need. Take a look at the... Oops, what did I do? I'm left-handed too. That makes things just a lot better. Go into the properties here. Windows 7 Home Premium, a lot better than Starter that you'll find on your garden variety netbooks. 3.9 Windows Experience Index. AMD E450 APU with Radeon HD graphics, 1.65 GHz. 4 gigabytes of RAM. It says 3.6 usable. I don't know why it says that, because it's a 64-bit operating system. And yada yada yada, it's on my work group. Yada 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 yada. So, cool. Now we'll take a look at the Windows Experience Index. This thing is a ton better than the Dell at everything except processor. Processor for this is 3.9. The Dell is something like 4.3. And the hard disk is the same for both this and the Dell, 5.9. But gaming graphics, 5.8 compared to like 3.1 on the Dell. And graphics, 4.2 compared to like 3.6 on the Dell. 5.7 for memory compared to like 4.9 on the Dell. So definitely a lot better in everything. I think you can excuse the lack of processor power. I looked up the benchmarks, and on the, I think it's PC Mark benchmarking software, the AMD E450 scores around 750, which is about comparable to a 1.4 gigahertz Core 2 Duo. So not bad at all. Now, to put that in other perspectives, the processor in this thing is faster than a 3.8 gigahertz Pentium 4. It's faster than the fastest Atom processor out there. It's also the fastest netbook processor AMD makes. So if you were to call the AMD version of this a netbook and the Core i3 version an ultra portable, this literally is the most powerful netbook in the world. And the processor is also about as fast as Intel's slowest current desktop processor, which is a 1.7 gigahertz Celeron of some sort based on the Sandy Bridge architecture. So, what to show? I've already put a bunch of stuff on here. I'll show off the graphics power. I have 3D Mark 2001 and 3D Mark 11 on here. I have not run either of them yet. If you're wondering why I have such an old version of 3D Mark as 2001 on here, it's because I guess it's kind of a trend I started with my fellow computer nerd friends at school. One day I just decided to download 2001 and run it on one of the school computers to see how it did. So now whenever we compare computers with each other, we always use 2001. So it's just kind of my go-to for that. I have not run it yet, and we'll see how it does. Now, I'm running in high performance mode, so the CPU's at 100% power. 49 minutes of battery life at 11%. 49 minutes, 11%. That's pretty darn good. It's currently 8:43 p.m. It was around 2:20 when this was done charging and I unplugged it, and it's been on almost constantly since then. So over 6 hours. And that's with Wi-Fi on, the speakers turned up, the display turned up. If I turn all that stuff down, the battery meter says at 100% around 13 hours of life remaining. If I'm playing a 3D game, that drops to about 3 or 4 hours at 100%. So amazing battery life. So what we're going to do here, why did Arrow turn off? Did 3D Mark do that? Okay, yes it did. Okay, never mind. I didn't know. Yeah, okay. I didn't know if I did something wrong or what. So, we're going to run 1024 by 768, 32-bit color. And let's see what it looks like. I haven't seen this yet. Ooh, smooth. I think even this demo here is choppy on the Dell. It's just slightly choppy. It's like 20 frames a second or something. We're going on 100 and some here. Then here's a more high quality one. There's our frame rate. Very, very good to me. I know this is probably, besides the Atom netbooks, this is probably one of the lowest. Oh, that was weird. Oh, that's probably low battery. This is probably one of the lowest end video cards on the market besides the Atom netbooks, but This is a lot more powerful than any other computer I've ever owned, so to me, this is absolutely incredible, incredibly powerful to me. I've been playing Microsoft Flight Simulator 2004, runs awesome. It's too choppy on the Dell to be enjoyable. I used to play it a lot on the Acer Aspire 3050 before I sold it to David. That had an ATI Radeon Express 1100 that ran it well. And the thing is just completely cool. The fan's running and there's hot air coming out of the fan, but the bottom of the thing's completely cool. I have complete confidence that I could be playing a 3D game on this thing and I could have it sitting right on my bed with no danger, because it's completely cold. So while this thing's running, I'll just talk a little bit more about the research I did. Now this is in fact the cheapest ThinkPad laptop. When Lenovo first released it, it was $460. Then they bumped it to $500 when I bought it, and now it's at $540. I don't know why they raised the price. I would think that a company would start something at a high price and then lower it as it gets older, but whatever. That's Lenovo's web price, by the way. Apparently, I don't know how true this is, but apparently the actual price of one of these starts at like $800. It definitely feels, I mean, this feels rock solid. I mean, it feels like a ThinkPad should feel, and it feels a heck of a lot higher quality than that Acer Aspire one at Walmart. This isn't magnesium alloy like other ThinkPads. They did set out to make it cheap while still making it durable, so it's just high quality plastic. It's not magnesium alloy, but hey, I'm not picky. They also left out the blue enter key and the other blue keys that are standard on a ThinkPad keyboard, but again, I'm not picky. It's a high quality unit. It definitely feels rock solid. I mean, I think a comment I read on YouTube once on a video of one of these sums it up. The guy commented and said you could probably stand on it. You could probably stand on the screen here and it probably wouldn't break it. And that's probably true. What I don't get is why the first one of these came to me smashed up, if they're so tough. So my conclusion is that it was probably broken at the factory. Either a machine or a person probably did something very wrong. Getting 40 some frames per second on this one. We'll run 3D Mark 11 afterwards. I know one of these tests is one that's really intensive, especially by 2001 standards. It's just really intensive. Like, the Dell runs it at like 0.5 frames per second. So yeah, I never knew that it was possible to put an Intel Core i3 in a little computer like this, but it's true. And you can get the Core i3 version of this netbook starting at something like $650 or somewhere around there. Ooh, pretty colors. I think this is the one that's really intensive. Oh, holy crap. Yeah, this is the one. Holy God. That's incredible. This is what the Dell gets like half a frame a second on. And now here's the really... This is probably the one that the Dell gets half a frame per second on. Holy crap. Yeah. This is the one that the Dell gets less than a frame a second on. Wow. That's incredible. My trucking simulator game, 18 Wheels of Steel Convoy, that runs beautifully on this too. The only thing is, as with most newer computers with newer operating systems, I can't run it past the minimum shader quality. If I try the compatible shader quality, or even the ATI Radeon specific shaders, it just crashes upon starting up. I do have Skyrim on this. I pirated it. I'm not ashamed to say that, because the only reason I've done it is to test it. Because I have never played it. I have no reason to ever play it. It does not pique my interest at all. I downloaded it simply to see how, well, I downloaded it to see how the Dell ran it, and now I've tried it on this to see how this runs it, and I'll do it for you guys as well. But the only thing that interests me about Skyrim is the Macho Dragon modification. That looks cool. This reminds me of home. This is another test that the Dell got like 1 frame per second on. And this thing's just taking it by the balls. 8,794. That's excellent. The Dell scores like 5,000 around there. Cool. Now we'll do the 2011 version, which this thing will probably do terrible on. We have, come back, 33 minutes, 10% remaining. Cool. Alright, 3D Mark 11. The basic version, the free version, of course. Welcome to 3D Mark 11. Upgrade later. That means upgrade never. We're on the performance mode. 1280 by 720. Full 3D Mark 11 experience. Display scaling, load centered. Good. Run 3D Mark 11. Here we go. Please wait. Deep Sea. This demo is provided for your entertainment. I thought it was provided to test. It does not affect your 3D Mark score. Visual settings are fixed for basic edition users. Wow, this screen must have pretty good refresh rate, because you can actually see the flicker on camera. It has really good, really quick pixel change. Oh, that's gross. That's atrocious. I assure you, Skyrim looks better than this. MSI. Insist on the best. Oh, it has sound. The speakers are not very loud. They do sound half decent though. If a bit tinny, but I never use speakers anyway. We're getting some nice hot air, but the bottom's still cool. I wonder who sponsors them. Subtle advertising. A friend of mine has a Asus G74, I think's what it is. And it was literally like one of the most powerful portable computers money could buy back when he bought it. And he paid something like $1,500 for it. It has a Core 2 quad and NVIDIA GTX graphics, 8 gigs of RAM. The graphics have like 4 gigs on them or something like that. Anyway, 3D Mark 2001, he was getting like 500 frames per second on everything. But here on 3D Mark 11, he wasn't on tests like this one here. I don't think he was getting much better than 20 or 25 frames per second. So, I guess to be seeing 2 or 3 frames per second on this thing right now, probably I shouldn't be taking it as bad as one could take it as. I'm going to turn the sound down. I did my research on the video card as well. Once again, it's an ATI Radeon HD 6320, and there's this website called notebookcheck.net, I think, and they list just about every video card that still meets a certain degree of performance. So pretty much every video card made in the past 3 or 4 years, and they rank them from class 1 to 6. Class 1 being the most powerful and class 6 being the least. This is in the middle of class 4, I think. So to be, you know, higher than class 6, that's more than good enough for me. That's pretty awesome. in comparison, the Dell's graphics, which is an Intel GMA X3100, that's near the bottom of class 6. Frames per second, 1.4. This is taking quite a long time, so I'm just lying back. 1.4 frames on this one. Mind you that we're running on battery power as well. I have it set in the high performance mode so the processor runs at 100%, but I don't know if plugging it in would still have any effect on the performance of the video. I'm refraining from saying video card because it's not a card, it's built right into the processor. And I'll also take this time to explain, you know, when my friend Brandon and I, my partner in electronic crime, when we first heard of these fancy APUs, we weren't very keen to them. You know, we thought, oh, it's a cheap way to build a video card into a processor, and it probably all is pretty crappy. It's probably low powered, makes a lot of heat, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. In fact, AMD pioneered it, but now Intel's doing it too with all their core processors, maybe all their processors, I'm not sure. But what the point of it is that by placing the GPU on the CPU, you eliminate the bus that exists between a CPU and a video card, whether it be AGP or PCI Express. You eliminate that bus because the graphics is right there on the processor. So as a result, the graphics and the processor communicate faster, and overall that results in performance that can be gained using less power. So you get performance that's just as good as a CPU and a separate video card that use more power. So, and obviously it's a lot smaller. Physics test. Oh my god, don't I hate saying those two words together. What's happening? Oh, okay. 0, 1, 1.4, 5, 1.8. If I haven't mentioned it, this is also the very first brand new computer I've ever owned. Or I guess the original custom built computer was brand new, but it wasn't a brand name computer. It was thrown together by a guy who lives in town and cheats his customers. But this is my first brand new name brand computer, and the first computer that I've actually paid money for that I bought myself. The only other computer that... Oh, I heard the critical battery beep. The only other computer that we've ever paid money for was... Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. What's this? 3D Mark has lost exclusive access. Oops, I keep doing that. I hit the space bar when I mean to hit the mouse button. Exclusive access to the display under keyboard. Benchmark run has been aborted. So is it like done, or is it going to recover? I guess it's done. Good enough. You guys know as much as I do. That was boring anyway. Oh well. Someday I'll do it and I'll get the score and see how good it is and compared to other stuff. So as I was saying, the only other computer I've ever paid money for was the custom built computer 2. Was a joint purchase between Mum and I. The guy who was the same guy who built the original custom built computer, he wanted $100 for the custom built 2, so Mum paid $50 and I paid $50. Now, what's our battery situation? 13 minutes remaining, 5%. So I'll open up Skyrim here, and Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, and I'm gonna set it for low settings. Settings have been set for low quality. Oh, I'm also going to open up the ATI Catalyst. Oh, it's not called Catalyst, it's called Vision. Vision Engine Control Center. and I'm going to optimize it for performance. You can optimize it between quality and performance, and I think it's set in the middle. Takes a bit to load. Track point's fun. Here we go. Okay. Gaming performance. Standard 3D settings. Performance. Haha. Apply. And we are going to play Skyrim on low settings at the full 1366 by 768. Here we go. Oh, turn the volume up too. I don't think Skyrim, because I've tried before to adjust the volume in Skyrim and it doesn't like to do that. Hold on a sec. Okay, speakers are turned up all the way. We're going to go new. So it's nothing spectacular. It's around 10 or 15 frames per second, but it's playable, and that's better than the 1 or 2 frames per second that the Dell got. Battery's gonna die before it even gets to the actual game. I don't know if it's loading something or if this is just something stupid. Pressing nothing don't do anything. Oh, what's happening? Come on. Oh, here we go. So as you can see, it's definitely playable. I can look around. I'm hoping that Max Payne 3, which I desperately want to play when it comes out, will run well. Speakers up all the way, folks. Okay, well that's that. 3% battery life remaining. It'll hibernate when it gets to 1%. So what I'm going to do is, I'll let it do that, and then we will continue on. And there it is going into hibernation mode. The LED blinks fast. So now I'll grab the power brick and I'll grab the documentation too so you can have a look at that. Then we'll plug this thing in, turn it back on, and continue on our merry way. And there it turns off. So here's the power brick. Nice and small. It's 65 watts, 20 volts. Same voltage, and the plug looks the same as on Dell's power supplies. Different plug than what's on older ThinkPads I know, but we plug it in and that lights up. So let's go ahead and turn it back on. Take a look at the documentation here. This is all the paper documentation they give you. They give you a little guide here as to what you should find in the box and your basic physical layout of the laptop and how to connect the battery and connect it to power. I haven't even looked at this yet, or any of the stuff. And, oh, this is the replacement stuff, because this was a replacement laptop. And then we have the safety and warranty guide. I don't know why they got a fan there. Multi-language. And then on the computer itself, they got the full manual in PDF form. And not in any of this stuff, not one time do they say, "Thank you for purchasing a Lenovo computer." They don't say that at all. Well, well, well. But anyhow, go back to our desktop here. Now, if you haven't noticed, there is one thing lacking on this that I think is crucial to any computer, especially a business computer like a ThinkPad, and that's a hard drive activity light. There is no hard drive activity light on this. So, I added a software hard drive activity light. And there it is, right there, that green rectangle in the taskbar. That's a software hard drive activity light. It's a free program called Disk LED. And I downloaded it, and it works pretty darn well, and it seems to be pretty accurate too. You know, it does everything from the quick flickers to when it's thrashing, and yeah, it works really well. Because the thing is, the first time I opened up a few programs, you know, they weren't coming right up immediately, and of course there was no hard drive activity light to look at, so I didn't know if they were loading or if I should click it again. And, you know, that happened twice on me, and it's like, okay, hopefully there's a software system tray hard drive activity light. And indeed, there's quite a few. Quite a few are nagware, and quite a few are not what they seem. And then there's this one, which is pretty darn perfect. Take a look here. PokeTalk? Or PokeTalk. I don't know. Comes pre-installed with Microsoft Office 2010, or rather an application that lets you activate it. I actually have, believe it or not, our computer teacher at school gave Brandon and I a legal copy of Microsoft Office 2010 as a gift for no apparent reason, but that was super duper duper awesome nonetheless. So it's a family pack with 2 or 3 license keys, so I'm gonna have one and he's gonna have one, and I'm gonna activate it on this. You have a bunch of Lenovo bloatware on it. See what ThinkVantage Tools is. Oh yeah, that's this thing here that gives you access to all the bloatware right from one convenient spot. The gray icons are those which I've uninstalled. I'm going to make some recovery disks. I'm going to install Daemon tools and make the recovery disks and make them ISOs, and then I'm going to burn them on the Dell. Now, I would make the taskbar small like I usually do in Windows 7, except this thing down here, which is a Lenovo Message Center, I would uninstall it, but the thing is, it seems pretty important. Like, they'll send you a message if there's anything recalled on the computer or anything else that you should contact them for. But the thing is, I can't make the taskbar small because it's there. If I try to make it small, the buttons here will go small, but the taskbar itself will just stay big. But whatever. I'll demonstrate Microsoft Flight Simulator, which doesn't run that great on the Dell. It gets like 5 or 6 frames per second. Okay. Let's go. Let's see, I'm familiar with the Bangor International Airport. I used to play Flight Simulator a lot a few months ago, and then when I sold the Aspire, of course I didn't anymore. But I want to get back into it again, although I have very little free time on me anymore. Just enough time to make these videos and sleep. Where is Bangor? Bangor International. In Bangor, Maine. You can drive there from here in, a couple hours. 2 or 3 hours. Okay. And should be nighttime, which is good. I prefer to fly at night because it's because you can see the runways better because they're lit up. you can distinguish the runways from the rest of the simulated towns and cities. Okay. Flaps are up. We just press F4 to open up the throttle. Oh, take off the brake. And we're rolling. But I think Flight Simulator is so fun, and I'm pretty good at it too. I'm pretty good at landing a plane and maneuvering otherwise. Landing was very hard to do. I first started on Flight Simulator 98 that I bought at the thrift store, and I could never land. But then I got the hang of it. And here we go. If you can tell, we're running at 1024 by 768. This game does not handle widescreen properly. And we're rolling. Now, I don't know if there's another airstrip located conveniently nearby. What's down there? Oh, nothing. Dad used to fly model airplanes. Ones he built himself. From kits. Big ones. That had 2-cycle alcohol engines. Remote controlled. I personally have no interest in that. But I like flying here. I know. Let's land. Oops. Land right there. Around there. This is going to be fun to try and do. Aha, we'll land right here. Oops. Oh, shoot. Get out of that. There we go. Anyhow, the game runs very smooth. I'm in medium-high settings. I can probably take it all the way up and it'll probably do this fine. And Maritime Airlines coming in for a landing. Might be a bit rough. Yeah, that was a bit rough. Oops. I didn't crash though. Anyhow, there's Flight Simulator. Anyhow, that's pretty much all I'm going to bother showing of the Lenovo ThinkPad X130e. For my first day with it, I think it's a wonderful little computer. And, you know, it feels very tough, very like I can rely on it for many years down the road. I hope I can, because this will hopefully do me for 4 years, and really the money I paid for it, it should do me 20 years, but I guess we'll see when that time comes. But yeah, it's going to be a very good computer for university, and even for my remainder of high school. I think it'll be pretty useful. As small as it is, and as long battery life, and still a full-size keyboard. Definitely useful for the games I play with the Radeon graphics that are better than any other computer I've ever owned. And yeah, oh, and I almost forgot a really cool program. You might know, if you know about ThinkPads, that all ThinkPads, including this one, come with an accelerometer built in that senses when the machine's being bumped. And if it detects a bump that could damage the hard drive, it'll shut down the hard drive immediately. And then after a few seconds, it'll start it back up. So if we open the program here, I'll show you this first. You see a little green triangle there. If I give the computer a little shake, it turns into a yellow pause symbol. And then back to a green triangle. Shake it again. back to the pause symbol. And what it's doing when it goes to the pause symbol, it parks the heads of the drive. It keeps the drive spinning, but it just parks the heads for a few seconds. And this is cool. See, it currently says no shock detected, hard drive running, but watch when I lift the computer up, you'll see this 3D simulated computer here move as well. Isn't that cool? I wonder if there's any software that takes advantage of the accelerometer. And you see it says it also detects repetitive shocks, in which case it ignores the shocks. And it says shock detected, hard drive stopped. And you can configure how sensitive it is and everything. I've just left everything at the defaults. But yeah, I think that's a pretty cool feature. Cool, just cool, and cool, really useful for protecting your hard drive cool. So yeah, that's about all there is to show of the Lenovo ThinkPad X130e. Really excited to have this thing. I think it's worth the money I paid for it, assuming it lasts a long time. Oh, I'll show the, see, I keep forgetting things to show. I'll show the webcam too. The webcam seems to be pretty good. As a matter of fact, I'll probably start doing live Ustream webcasts again and use this thing, because it has a microphone built in too. There, so here's the webcam. You can see it appears to be a pretty good video quality from what I can see on the preview here. It's a VGA webcam, I believe, but it does have the ability to record in upscaled high definition, if you so desired. And I'm recording with Movie Maker here, so what I'll do is in the video I'll switch to the webcam feed itself, so you can hear what the how the video looks and sounds. There, that's really all there is to show of the Lenovo ThinkPad X130e. Now we will shut it down. Oops. Oh, look at that. I like the old IBM ThinkPad wallpaper. I wish it was still called IBM ThinkPad, but whatever. I pressed the power button. I don't know if anything's happening though. Maybe I don't have it set to do that.